This is Amud Yomi Gemara in Shabbos Dav Kuf Beis Amud Beis. We've been a little bit behind, but Baruch Hashem, we're back with Amud Yomi as we begin the 12th parak here in Meseches Shabbos. We're middle of discussing the malachos of Shabbos. The previous parak ended with the malacha of Haitzah, and now we move on. As the title of the parak is the malacha of Baina. Says the Mishnah, Baina, one who builds kamiyevna v'yechayiv. How much does he have to build to be chayiv? Baina kol shu, any amount. V'amisatis, if you chisel a stone, v'makbebatish, the final hammer blow, b'ma'atzad, or a sledgehammer, a kadeach, so new drills, again, kol shu, there's a chayiv even on the smallest amount. Zaklal, says the Mishnah. And who does malacha, and your malacha is mitkayim, it endures b'Shabbos, chayiv. Rashba Goimer have a makam accordance al salim just malacha chayiv, when he strikes a hammer on an anvil while working is chayiv. Why? It's like one who improves his work. We'll have to see what exactly does that mean, that it's kimitakein. We'll get there. B'siyata tishmayo. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. We said you're a chayiv for a kol shu. Kol shu l'may chazya. What's a kol shu fit for? Amar Rav Yirmiyah shekein ani chayver guma. And Ani digs the smallest amount. Why? To hide his coins in into Kavasegav and Mishkan. Similarly by the Mishkan. If they're sewing curtains, they would dig a small hole to hide their needles in it. Abaya Amar says Abaya, no, it's not true. If they were to put the needles in the ground when they were sewing the arios in the Mishkan, it would get rusty. So argues Abaya balabatish mitzios. It's not what they did. They didn't actually hide their needles in the ground. Ella rather, and Ani makes a little stand for a small oven, stove, to put a little pot of food on it. Similarly, to Kavsegav Mishkan, by the Mishkan, what do? And they cooked herbs. When they were missing a little bit of dye for the Mishkan, they make a little pot, to put it in a small kettle of dye. That's where the kol shu comes from. Rav Yaakov Amar, he argues on that. So Abai argued that it gets rusty. Rav Yaakov argues, it's like a mashirs. No. In the Mishkan, they didn't make things in small quantities. The Mishkan, Hashem's house, everything has to be done in appropriate fashion. Rather, says Rav Yaakov, if you have a hole in your mansion, you're going to put a little clay in it to seal it up. Similarly, to Mishkan, Shkein Keresh and Avlo by Darna, a plank that a worm fell and made a hole in it. You pour a little bit of lead in it. So that's the manifestation of a kol shu that creates a chiyuv in the Mishkan. Amar Shmuel. Once we're on the topic, comes along Shmuel, and he teaches us, Hamitzadid is Evan Chayiv. Says Shmuel, if someone is mitzadid, the Evan, if you take a stone and you just set it up on the ground, he is chayiv. Says Shmuel. We're smack in the middle of the Amid of Kavbeis Midbeis. The first word of the line is Amar Shmuel. Meisvei, ask the Gemara 1 second. Says the Braysa, Evan, someone who puts the stone into a wall, someone who adds the cement. Then who's chayiv? And is chayiv. So what do we see? We see that by mere putting a stone there, that's not enough to create a chayiv. Says the Gemara 1 second. We find in the seifa of that brayso, Rav Yosi Aimer, if you put a stone on top of the row of stones, that itself is enough for a chayiv. So we see putting it down is enough. So how do we reconcile these two braysos? Ella tlasa binyan ha'ava, says the Gemara, the 3 levels when it comes to building. Tata, mitzia, v'yila, the bottom, the middle, and the top. Tat on the bottom when you're building by studi v'afra, you position it and you wedge it into the earth. Mitzia, the next level, ba'ina matina, you put in cement. And Eloi, all you put in is anacha ba'alma in order to create the chiyav, and that's going to be the chiyav of ba'ina. This is a very important halacha, all the way halacha l'ma'isa. Someone has a row of stones by their front walkway, and it just falls out, so he just like stands it back up. That is hanacha ba'alma. By merely placing a stone in the right place of a binyan, will create a chiyav and isser daraisa, something one has to be very careful about. We're about 20 lines to the bottom of the two das on Mitzate, someone who chisels a stone. Says the Gemara, Mitzate b'shamayim chayiv, why is one chayiv if he chisels a stone? What's the avmelacha? So you have a machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Rav Amar Misham Baynish, Shmuel Amar Misham Akve Patish. Similarly, I say, Nagiv lo shalani godim, one who makes a hole in a chicken coop. There are no windows in the chicken coops. They had to make a hole to let the fumes out, or else the chickens wouldn't be able to live there. And a third case we find this machlekes ayel shofta bekupina demara. One who puts a peg into a shovel. So of course, the classical Gemara sends 12 lines to the bottom. The first line is bibhatish. The Gemara explains, why does Rav and Shmuel have to say the same din 3 times? Rav teaching us it's an Isser Baina, and Shmuel teaching us it's an Isser Mak bibhatish. Says the Gemara Sricha. If you only said the first case of chiseling a stone, I would have thought. But in that case, Rav says there's a chiyav of baina. Why? Because when you chisel out a stone, it's misham derech binyan mikach. But I would have thought, making a hole in the chicken coop, that's not a derech binyan to make a hole in derech binyan mikach. I think there's no chayiv in Shmuel. Maybe you'd be moided to Shmuel that there's no chiyav baina, but it's only because of makbeh batish. And of course, the difference in the Av is differences in the Hasra, is difference if you do 2 different malachis, etc. If you only said the second case, the case of the chicken coop out of the bar, come Rav. Part of building is create avira, create windows, create ventilation. So that's what Rav says is a chiyav baina by making a hole in the chicken coop. When you put the peg into the shovel to hold the 2 parts together, that's when the third case, what I thought about Shmuel, that's when Shmuel says it's din. The first 2 cases, and that's the reason why the Gemara brings down the 3 cases, and in all 3 of them, Rav holds the chiyav is alzbaina. Shmuel holds because of makbeh badish. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up 4 lines to the bottom the next year. B'siyata d'ishmaya.